Okay, everybody, I am so excited today because I am joined by the one and only Dove Cameron, aka Ellen Wright and Big Nate, which is coming to Paramount Plus next Thursday. Dove, how you doing today?
I'm actually really, really well. How are you?
Good, that's great to hear. And I'm really excited about this show coming out. I'm a huge fan of all of your work, and this just continues that. So I was curious while watching it, are you reading straight from a script when you're doing something like voiceover, or you want someone who wants to like memorize it?
Oh no, reading from the script. I mean, listen, I we go line by line in voiceover, so it's really I feel it's like I feel like it would be really, really hard to do based on just memorization alone, especially because I feel like when you're reading it with a producer or another voice actor, a lot of Big Nate, funny enough, and not every production is the same in this way, but a lot of Big Nate is very improv heavy. And it took me kind of a
Mm.
while to get into that. Like after the first couple episodes of me being like, I'm a fish out of water. Like, because all these people, this is like what they do. And they're so funny. And it's so intimidating to watch them do it. I was like, no way, no way. Why am I here? And then as I got more comfortable, like back in 2020, when I was like doing this on my laptop because everything was closed and the pandemic had just begun,
Mm.
I was trying to like be like tech support and like it was so funny like seeing me with my like silly little like microphone and like sitting on my floor with like pillows around it trying to create like a sound booth, and all these people have sound booths in their homes because they are recording artists first.
Right.
And I was like on Hollywood Boulevard being like, sorry guys. But it took me, I was really, really unprofessional. But it took me a while to realize that like this is actually an opportunity. You kind of turn into like a stand-up comic. Like the
Mm.
goal is to make the producers laugh, and like you know, improvise and go wild, make insane sounds. Like you turn into a child again, and like making your parents laugh by like doing like silly tricks with like when the family comes over. And that's like that's something that this experience like really kind of taught me, was to actually to be less like militant with like I'm gonna memorize and go in. It's like an improv class. It's really fun.
Yeah, and I love that comparison to stand up you just made. And it's interesting because, yeah, I never thought of it like that, where it is more creating in your head too of what you're going to say. That's pretty cool. So, was there any characters from other animated shows that helped, like, maybe inspire a portrayal of how you're going to approach Ellen Wright here?
I think there were in the beginning. Like I think I actually went in with a sort of like a I always loved Candace from Phineas and Ferb. That like that Mom, Phineas and Ferb. Like I always thought that Ashley Tisdale was really funny in that. And also the older sister is like almost always the straight man, right?
Mm.
She's almost always kind of the one who's like, you're a brat, and that's it. And so I went in kind of not allowing myself to be as wild and unhinged as my character becomes throughout the series. I also think that the older sister in Rick and Morty, you know, like I was kind of
Mm.
thinking about like that kind of thing. But then Ellen just developed into her own thing. I think she sounds more like me as the series goes on because I stopped trying to make her into something, and then it became something else. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. No, and that's awesome that you get to shine through that character too, because I think that's just huge for people who want to watch this because of you. Now, was there any favorite animated shows for you growing up as a kid? Is there something that's like your cup of tea?
You know, I've said this just before, but I didn't have cable.
Mm.
So and like we didn't have like we had like the rabbit ears. So we had I think four channels, and one of them mostly showed news. And then there was another one that was like, you know, UPN 11 at the time, which turned into like CW, I think, which had like Seinfeld. So I didn't write. It had like Seinfeld and like America's Next Top Model and like sometimes The Simpsons. I think maybe I'm being crazy about that. Someone's gonna be like, that's wrong.
No, that
But
sounds right.
I think so, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we didn't. The only cartoons that I ever saw were at friends' houses who had cable, and then we had like a third. I swear, we had like a 32-hour VHS. That just sounds crazy because I'm like, no way a VHS could carry that much cartoonage. But I think it did. I think it was like 32 hours of straight, might have been two, like a two special thing of straight Looney Tunes. So I grew up watching those, and then my family got weirdly into like Family Guy, and we would get DVDs of that for Christmas, but it was like very few and far between. And I remember Hey Arnold being like Mecca. It was like home
Right.
because Hey Arnold and like Rugrats, like those were the ones. And so that's something that I actually really love about Big Nate is as the series was going and I was able to see the animation and like speak to the producers about it, I was like, this is really nostalgic and really like reminiscent of the kind of like older style of cartoons and writing. And it doesn't
Hmm.
feel aimed as much or like curated as much towards an audience as I feel like a lot of children's content is these days. So I definitely feel very like happy to be a part of something that feels so yeah, just like tried and true, like a classic, like a modern classic.
Yeah, and it's cool you mentioned that because like with modern classics and older animation, like you're also going the other direction where you're going to be in the live action Powerpuff series. Are you excited about that playing Bubbles? Like, is that something that's kind of like a dream come true for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, come on. I Bubbles, like first of all, Powerpuff Girls, I saw the movie when it came out when I was a kid, again, no cable. And I remember like apparently my mom just sent me like a Kodak
You're
disposable
right.
photo of my birthday party where I was had pigtails, Powerpuff Girls like little party hat, and a Powerpuff Girls t-shirt. I have no recollection of this, but I was a massive Powerpuff Girls fan growing up, and I was always Bubbles because I was blonde, and I thought she was the cutest. And so when I heard that Diablo Cody, one of my all-time favorite like cult classic writers, was writing it, and I read the script, I was like, this is unhinged. This is insane conceptually. And I want to be part of it. And we shot the pilot. And it's a very interesting process because very rarely do you make a pilot that is so high, like highly watched. Like everybody was kind of like
Mm,
already from the beginning being very like, all right, like let's see what this is about kind of thing. Like, you know, very rarely is there a property that is so beloved.
mm.
But coming from someone who was one of the people who loved it so much, um, I really think they did it justice. They really like gave it the kind of credence and honor and like, um, you know, just like the respect that it deserved as we were making it. But I think that what people don't realize is that a lot of the time people will like, I think this happened with Game of Thrones. They made a pilot,
Mm.
spent all this money on it, and then it like wasn't quite right. And they were like, well, why are we going to start the show with elements that we're then going to have to backtrack and change? We should just like do it right from the beginning. So that's kind of where we're at right now with that. Is we're just like figuring out all of the things that we want to make it perfect and dreamy, and then we'll go back in and release the show that we want to do.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what you do with the character. It's so exciting. And just also when I watch this Big Nate screeners, I love seeing that. I am excited to see Dove Cameron do something because I'm expecting a little bit of singing even in your acting work, and we get a little bit here. And what I really loved was your performance as Betsy in Schmigadoon this year. I loved it. So what I do want to know, though, I always wonder when I see this, what is the main love for you? Because we know you have such a great singing career too. Is it acting or is it singing or is it, kind of like a tie for you?
It's definitely a tie for me. I was reading something the other day that kind of helped me finally answer that question. I was reading about Madonna, actually,
Mm.
who I'm a huge fan of. And she wrote, like, in her early career, when people were coming and seeing her, like, kind of black box shows, um, she was like, I can sing, I am a dancer, but overall, don't think of me as those things. Like, think of me as a performance artist. And I read that and I was like, is that what it is? Because it's really like, I've never been the person, I've always struggled to answer this question because I enjoy acting. Like even just the act of like auditioning, I'll leave and be like, that was such a fun day. And I don't care what happens, you know, like I really like the actual act of it. I've really come to love voiceover. I enjoy singing if it's the right thing. It's not like a
Mm.
feeling kind of thing. It's like the music has to take me. And I love songwriting. And it's like all of these things kind of fuse to be like one emotion for me. So it's
Sure.
like it's just about like the kind of I don't know. I feel lucky that like my career kind of aids all of them, but they do all feel like one thing. So it's really hard for me to answer.
No, well, it's still a great answer. And everybody, you get to check her out, do all of this voice acting, acting, singing, you name it, in Big Nate as Ellen Wright on Paramount Plus next Thursday. Dove, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to talk to you again in the future one day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.